decide to do a little lunch. It wasn't scheduled, but we are going to do it on the fly because we have a tremendous chemistry together. The Prime Minister of Iraq has been amazing. He won an election that a lot of people didn't anticipate could be won by anybody else other than another person who was not, in my opinion, a good person. Not good for America. I don't think good for Iraq. And I played a role in, it was very important to me to have somebody get in there that can do the job and do it well. And we have a fantastic champion, a new champion. And he won the election very soundly, very conclusively, and he wasn't favored. But by the time they got to know him, he ended up winning. And he's going to be there for a long time. So I just want to say it's a great honor to have the Prime Minister of Iraq with us. He's been a great fighter and he's been a great fan of America. We'll be discussing that a little bit with you, but they have tremendous oil reserves. They have tremendous potential wealth, and they have tremendous wealth, not only potential. But he's done in a short period of time, he's changed that country so much, especially toward their thinking about the United States. And we have partnerships. Chris was just saying we have tremendous oil partnerships all of a sudden being formed over the last short period of time, and I guess you're going to be announcing them this week or next week, but massive, among the largest. So they have done a fantastic job over the last very short period of time, but they have a great leader, the new Prime Minister. He's a great leader. I think he's going to be there for a long period of time, and it's great to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And he's a young man. He's young and he's handsome, which I don't like. I'm not happy about it.
شكرا جزيلا. لقد عقدنا اجتماعا جيدا وقد دعوته إلى وجبة الغداء، وهذا لم يكن ضمن البرنامج والجدول الذي اتفقنا عليه، لكن هنالك كيمياء عظيمة بيننا وبينهم. رئيس الوزراء يقوم بعمل رائع. أنا لم يتوقع أحد أنه سيفوز في هذه الانتخابات، لكن المرشح المضاد له كان شخص لم يعجبني ولم تكن لديه آراء جيدة تجاه أمريكا، لكن كان من المهم جدا لي أن تفوزوا أنتم في هذه الانتخابات، وأنتم تقومون بعمل رائع جدا. والآن لدينا فائز جديد لم تكن حظوظه كبيرة، لكنه مع ذلك نجح في هذه الانتخابات. هو شرف عظيم بالنسبة لي أن أستضيف دولة رئيس الوزراء هنا في البيت الأبيض. هو محارب عظيم، وهو أيضا من المعجبين بأمريكا والولايات المتحدة. العراق طبعا دولة غنية لديها كثير من الاحتياطات النفطية، وهي دولة مليئة بالثروات، وفي وقت قصير تمكنتم من القيام بالكثير وتغيير، على الأقل تغيير شعور العراقيين تجاه أمريكا. وكما قال كريس وزير النفط وأشار إلى ذلك، أن هنالك صفقات تجارية كبيرة في مجال النفط سوف يتم الإعلان عنها هذا الأسبوع. أنتم تقومون بعمل رائع وقمتم بعمل رائع خلال وقت قصير. رئيس الوزراء طبعا هو أيضا قائد عظيم، وأعتقد أنكم ستخدمون في هذا المنصب لمدة طويلة. طبعا أنتم في مقتبل العمر أنتم شاب أيضا ووسيم، وهذا طبعا لا يعجبني، لكن مع ذلك يشرفني أن أستضيفكم هنا.
Please, thank you. أشكر حفاوة الاستقبال إلى فخامة الرئيس دونالد ترامب.
Thank you for the warm welcome by His Excellency President Trump.
وهذه هي زيارتي الأولى
This is my first visit
إلى الولايات المتحدة
to the
الأمريكية.
United States of America.
فهذه الزيارة لم تكن زيارة عابرة،
This visit was not just like any visit,
وإنما زيارة إعلان شراكة اقتصادية.
rather it's an announcement of economic partnership
تحدثت مع فخامة الرئيس.
where I talked to His Excellency.
30/9 سوف تخرج القوات
By
الأمريكية،
the 30th of September, the U.S. forces will be out of Iraq,
وسوف تدخل الشركات الأمريكية.
while the U.S. companies will be inside Iraq.
ودائما تخلق العلاقة المجتمعية هي الشراكة الاقتصادية وليس العسكرية.
While the social relations is about like economy, it's not like about like military relations.
أنقل تحياتي
I would convey my greetings
من أقدم حضارة في
from the
العالم
oldest civilization in the world
إلى أكبر قلب اقتصادي
to
في
the
العالم
biggest
وتكنولوجي.
economic and technology heart in the world.
وأكرر شكري إلى فخامة
And I
الرئيس على
reiterate
حفاوة الاستقبال.
my thanks to His Excellency the President for the warm welcome.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Please.
I have a question for the Prime Minister.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. في مواضيع الدراسة الحالية. سمو وسعادة رئيس الوزراء ما طلب أمريكي لحصر السلاح الميليشيات بيد الدولة وكم اجتماع بينهم وعدم مهاجمة دول الجوار. هل هذه أهداف يمكن أن تتحقق قبل سبتمبر؟ And Mr. President, if I may.
Who are you with?
I'm with the Arabia. I cover the Middle East and the White House.
Okay.
Sir, is the military attack on Iran, is this a strategy to bring them back to the table, or is it to degrade them so the regime will eventually fall?
Well, we don't think we need the military there anymore. It's a very a big operation. And what we do have is the oil companies are all going in now, and they're doing partnerships with Iraq, and they're getting along very well. The relationship is a whole big relationship where we don't need the military there. We're there to help them. We're there to protect them if need be, but we don't think that's going to be necessary. And their primary, I consider an opponent, they might have considered a friend, but I consider that an opponent was Iran, was a big burden on Iraq because they were the bully of the Middle East, as you know. And we were just talking about that, but they're not going to have that problem anymore because Iran has been very much destabilized, and really their military power is just a tiny fraction of what it was just 4 months ago. So they're not going to have that problem. I think that it's really, in a sense, it's given them freedom to do what they have to do. And I think that's one of the reasons that our oil companies are going in there at levels that have never been seen before. So. You want to answer?
شكرا جزيلا على السؤال.
Thank you for your question.
ابتداء في منهاج الحكومي
According to the program of the government,
هو حصر السلاح بيد الدولة،
is to restrict the possession of weapons to the state.
وهذه نقطة أساسية
And this is a basic point.
ولدي قرار بها غير قابل للخيار.
And this is like a decision, it's not an option.
تم استلام
We received
أسلحة كثيرة من قبل بعض الفصائل،
weapons by different factions,
واللي يسلم سلاحه
and whoever surrender his weapon
ويتحول إلى جهة سياسية ومدنية.
turned into like a political or civilian.
من ناحيتنا سيتم التعاون معه.
We will cooperate with them.
بعد 30/9
After the 30th of September,
لا حاجة لوجود أي
there's
فصائل،
no any need for the presence of any faction,
لكون الفصائل
because factions
هي حاجة وليس مهنة،
is a need, it's not a profession.
وماكو مبرر لبقائهم بعد
There's no
30/9.
any justification for their existence after the 30th of September.
إن شاء الله نهاية هذا العام أو بداية العام
So hopefully
القادم
by the end of this year or by the beginning of the next year,
سوف نعلن أكبر مؤتمر السيادة الوطني.
the sovereignty conference is the biggest conference in the region.
قرار العراق بيد العراقيين،
The Iraqi decision is by the hand of the Iraqis only,
وقواتنا الأمنية قادرة على حماية
and
أراضيها.
our security forces are capable of protecting their borders.
بعد 30/9
After the 30th of September,
لا نسمح لأي جهة تحمل سلاح خارج
we
نطاق الدولة.
never accept for any entity to carry weapons outside the control of a state.
Thank you, President Trump. I have two questions. I was wondering if you could explain your changing thinking on the Strait of Hormuz, applying a 20% fee. How did you get to the decision you just announced?
So when I put that out yesterday, because we've been doing that for many, many years, it was never fair to me that we would be guarding the strait when we basically don't take anything, we don't need the oil at all. And it wasn't important for us, but it was important for allies. It was important for people that we get along with very well, including the major Gulf state countries. So I put it out yesterday. I thought it was good. I was called by different people, different countries, kings and emirs and all of the people that we all know and we all love, and they've been very strong partners. And they said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars and continue our record setting, because there's never been a time like this with the United States, with the factories, with the plants, with everything else. And we would like to invest tremendously in the United States as opposed to charging a fee. And I like that, actually, because I don't think anybody should be able to charge a fee for the strait or for any other straight relationship in terms of other sections of the world. I don't think anybody should be really in that position. But we were doing it as a reimbursement. The Gulf states are going to invest a tremendous amount of money into the United States, and that was very satisfactory to me. I think it's actually much better.
If I could also ask, are you aware of why the FBI is looking into Senator Graham's death? Have you gotten any updates on why they were at his home?
Well, I don't know why, because I think, he had a problem. His father had a very similar problem, as you know. It's very unique. At first I heard it was clogged arteries, because he did have clogged arteries. He had a problem with that. He was, I wish he took better care of himself. I say, you can solve that problem, but what happened is actually something that's very hard to detect. It was not related to any blockage. It was a totally different thing. And supposedly, and I've watched all the medical reports, I've had the doctors from the White House come in and explain what happened. And this is something that is almost undetectable. And if it happens, there's not much you can do about it. Sounds unfortunate, but there's not much you can do about it. If you look at his father died of the same thing at about the same age. So there was not much. They say it's almost undetectable. You can detect it by if you have a very bad back. That's a sign. It's a bad sign. So if anybody has a bad back, it's a pretty rough thing to think about. But the fact that's one of the primary signs. And he would tell me he had a bad back. But little did anyone realize it was for that. So, and when that bursts, which it did, it burst. There's not much. So I don't see a lot of evil there. I know there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going along, and I don't think the FBI. I think the FBI is wasting their time if they're doing that. Yeah.
Sir, just on the prior question, the Hormuz Strait whole idea for you, that's dead now. That's completely gone.
No, I just told you. You have Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, primarily, and then others. I spoke to all of them, and they would love to invest more money in the United States at record amounts, and that would be very acceptable. And this way, there's no fee. I don't like the concept of a fee, but at the same time, it's not fair that we're protecting this strait for the entire world, for China and everyone. I don't mind protecting it for China. I don't mind protecting it for anybody, but it's unfair that we're not in somehow compensated. And we've been doing this for many years. It's bothered me. 25 years ago, it bothered me. During my first term, I was doing things like you have to invest in the United States. But by doing it that way, there's no fee. They're investing and they're getting a return on their money, and it's good. But they're going to be making massive investments into the United States, and I like that much better.
Can I ask you a bit about the meeting you had today, whether you discussed OPEC? There's been some reporting that Iraq is pushing for changes to OPEC, a larger share, and even that they might consider leaving it.
That's the gentleman right here, because here he is. Would you like to know about it?
Are you considering, Mr. Prime Minister, leaving OPEC, or are you pushing for changes within it? And Mr. President, would you support
Well, I support him.
For changes?
I supported him very early I endorsed him, something I rarely do, but I've had great successes endorsing. We just had Colombia, which was a big one. Argentina was a big one. We had many. I've endorsed, I think everybody I've endorsed from a foreign standpoint. They just win.
Yeah.
And, I've been hearing great things. I'm a student of a lot of history, and I do know a lot about the history of Iraq, and I've watched what was happening in Iraq with the elections, and I put a very strong endorsement out because I was very unhappy with the man that was supposed to win the election. And this great gentleman, I think he's going to end up being a great leader. He won. So I'm very happy about that. As far as OPEC, that's his decision, and you might ask him that question.
لا أوبك احنا أحد البلدان المؤسسة لها.
We are one of the countries that established OPEC.
لكن نريد حقنا وحصة منصفة للعراق.
We need like a fair share for Iraq.
العراق حارب داعش.
Iraq fought ISIS
والإرهاب بأجمعه.
and terrorism at all.
وبدعم الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
support of the United States of America.
وهذه الحرب مع داعش
This fight with ISIS
كلفتنا نفقات كبيرة
cost us like huge amounts of money
ودمرت البنى التحتية
and
العراقية.
destroyed the Iraqi infrastructure.
مقدار الضرر اللي أصاب
The
العراق
damage that really was against Iraq
أكثر من 400 مليار دولار.
is more than $400 billion.
لليوم بعض العراقيين مدن مدمرة
Until today, like some